Hello and welcome to Theory of Anything We Review episode. I am your host, Devon, and I have today with me, as always, my co-hosts, Dad. Hello.
Hello.
Or Andy.
Nice to see
or
you,
Paps.
hear you.
How are you?
Yeah, good, thank you.
Excellent. And I also have my other co-host, Ford.
Good day all.
Now that's how you do a welcome.
Yeah.
You don't
Nice.
just say how are you and not ask for anybody.
Exactly. You've got to go step by step.
Exactly.
And then everyone knows who's talking as well. So
Exactly. Yeah.
it's great.
Very
can work.
deliberate.
Yes.
Yeah.
How are you today? General.
One.
Oh,
Of what? Having said all that, yeah.
Ford.
I'm feeling rather tired at the moment, actually. For me, this is quite late. I'm a bit of an early bird by nature, so I normally go to bed at 8:30. So
Oof.
yeah, we'll see how this goes.
Oof.
We've struggled to get our timings, haven't we?
Yeah, around the microphone time was a bit difficult to come by, wasn't it? So we've gone for not a very late, but for Ford a very late. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm a bit of a baby.
I wanted to kick us off with some very big, urgent news that has to be discussed ASAP.
Is it hot and fresh?
Hot and fresh off the press.
Ooh.
Okay.
Lovely.
And everyone needs to know about this. It's very tragic, actually.
Oh dear, building this up.
Somebody died today
Oh,
as the time of recording. Bobby, the world's oldest dog ever,
really?
dies at age 31.
Wow.
Yikes.
Today?
Yeah, today.
How did
That's the
you?
time of
Where was
recording.
it? You hear about this?
All over the news.
Is it? I
Yeah,
haven't seen the news. yet
Everyone's
today,
talking
so-
about it. And he looks pretty
Poppy the dog.
pretty sad,
Dead.
to be honest. The last photos of him, he looks a bit old,
Wow.
and I think it was his time. But,
Goodness me.
yeah,
And so, on average, dogs only last like 16 years, don't they?
Yeah,
Something-
to
something like-
18 is good age.
depends
yeah.
on breed. Yeah, I mean, my dog's not going to live that long. Like
Yeah.
12 years is a good
Oh.
life for my dog. So, but this
Wow,
one's 31 years.
It was a blessed relief for him, was it?
Yes,
That's
He'd
old,
had
I
enough.
yeah.
Yeah.
So was you.
Oh dear.
Gosh, and I can remember when you were born. It seems like ages ago. Yeah,
Yeah,
Nice.
that's when that dog was born.
very,
Same day.
very big news right now.
Wow.
I didn't know we did anything news on a review episode, but
No,
Yeah,
we don't.
I just felt
normally,
like I had
so-
to get it in there. You know,
that's good.
Yeah.
it's like break the
Well,
ice a
because
little
it was today
bit.
on the
Exactly.
time of recording. Yeah.
Exactly. But
One thing you forgot to say at the very beginning,
Oh, dear.
Devon, was what episode number we're at.
you see, the episode numbers are a little bit weird, aren't they? And they always have been. So I thought about saying it, but then I was like, well, we're just going to change it in the future anyway and make it complicated for everybody. So I thought maybe
No.
It is our way. I mean, what can you do?
yeah,
Well, it's evolved, hasn't it, over time? Yeah.
yeah, but I'm sure
Oh.
like we've got 20 episodes that don't exist, and it just doesn't actually make
Okay.
sense. I think we're going to change it at some point.
Well, they exist there, but they're not named, are they?
Exactly. Yeah.
But we are counting every episode as a particular number.
Okay. As of
So-
today, this is episode 75. That may change
Yeah.
a year from now. It may go back
Which is-
and change everything.
Which is a bit of a milestone, really, isn't it? It's a 3/4 century.
It is.
Yeah.
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 Wow.
It's a milestone. I like milestones.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Only 25 more. Then we get the really big one.
Then we can finally give up.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Nice.
Oh, we'll have finished talking about anything there is to talk about by the time we
Yeah.
get to episode 100. Yeah.
Speaking of
Okay.
which, shall we get straight into our assignment chat today?
I think we should.
Excellent.
And now it's time for film assignment chatting.
So today, our assignment chat is on the Disney Pixar film Soul.
Yes.
I believe we've all watched it, and if you guys at
We have.
home have watched it as well, very interested in your
Mhm.
opinions, so please follow along. I've watched this beforehand, but I also rewatched it recently to get a fresh memory of what happens, because
Indeed.
there's actually quite deep meaning to this film, I think,
Oh, okay.
which I didn't
It's
really
not-
get the first time around, really.
So it's not all just sadness and depression.
No, it's mostly
Okay.
that, but
Yeah.
it's, but it's actually alright. Yeah. So,
Yeah. The first thing that struck me is this film is not for kids. I have
No.
to say.
Yeah, I watched it with my 2-year-old, and she quite liked it because there's a cat and there's music.
A soulless cat.
Exactly, as a soulless cat who died,
That's good.
basically.
Yeah, it's good stuff.
Mm.
So it's,
Yeah, that is one of the comments I was going to make, but we'll maybe come on to that in a minute.
just a quick debrief. Soul follows the life and death of our main character. What's his name?
Joe.
Joe Gardner.
That's why it's so forgettable, because his name's just Joe.
Mhm.
And he has dreams and aspirations of being a professional jazz player, a pianist in a actual jazz band in gigs, but he's settled for a life of teaching jazz to middle school children. And he's very sad and depressed, and he finally gets his big break and gets invited to join the gig for this really cool band,
Dorothea Williams.
Well done. Quartet. So he's a pianist, and then he's celebrating in the streets. Yes, I finally did it. I got my big break. And then he falls down a well and dies. But he refuses to die. His soul refuses to go to the great beyond, and he escapes from death, only to get himself into lots of trouble with his soul entangled in the wrong place. And then we go on from there. Don't want to spoil too much if you haven't seen it.
Yeah. I think, to be honest, if you are listening to this, you've got to be aware that we're going to be talking about the film. So it'd be good
so
to have watched it if you don't want it to be spoilt. Yeah, we can't avoid it.
Yeah, he's so depressing knowing that when he's happy before he dies, and you know he dies because you know what the film's about. It's called Soul, and you see him. Yeah, it's just boy.
He's walking along the street and he almost gets killed like 5 times before he falls down.
He even nearly gets killed on his way to that meeting before he gets offered the gig. Did you notice that? On his way to the club, there was an incident with running across the road, and somebody swerves to avoid him.
Oh yeah.
And then after he leaves the club, being told that she'll give him a go in her band, he's like again and again and again. There's about 4 or 5 times, isn't there?
Yeah.
He nearly gets killed until finally.
If he'd survived, he could have sued so many people. It's crazy.
Yeah.
He'd be rich.
Yeah. It was quite a good scene, though, to be honest. It was quite funny.
Yeah. So,
but I'd like to precede that up to there, to be honest, by discussing the scene, the opening scene, I think it is, where he's teaching these middle schoolers. And there's one girl in the class, isn't there, who's just returned later in the story, who seems to have this spark that he wants all of them to have, his love for music. And there's this quote I wrote down. He says, "I wanted to learn how to talk like that." He was relating to his first experience of understanding what, having listened to a jazz musician. And I was really quite a nice line that he demonstrates his love, because he plays a little bit, and the class sort of perk up and listen to him and think, "Oh, this is quite good,"
Yeah.
He said, "I wanted to learn to talk like that," and I like the idea of thinking of music as a new language. That's
a form of being
just
expressive.
struck me.
And as he's talking about it, you can hear it through the music, through his story and his emotions during that story that he's saying. He expressed it really well with the music.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So the general idea, or maybe it's not, is that everybody has a spark or a purpose, and Joe Gardner's purpose and spark is his music, and that's what he lives for. He obviously dies as soon as he gets his big break, and he actually gets stuck with this other character who's called 22, who's struggling to find her spark so she can't start her life on Earth. It's like a pre-born soul, basically, who needs to have a purpose and a spark before she can start life. So yes, so basically most of the film is taken up by both of them on Earth in the wrong bodies, trying to find 22's purpose, and also trying to get Joe through the day, basically, whilst not making a fool of himself.
When Joe tragically falls down a manhole and ascends, I thought it was pretty cool that he's so attached to the idea of himself wearing a hat that his soul also has a hat. I don't know if the hat has a separate soul and it died with him or something. I don't know. It's pretty cool. I like that.
Is there any scenes with him not wearing a hat? I can't remember.
He gets haircut. So
yes, of course,
goes to the barber.
But later, even when he's wearing his really nice smart suit, he's still wearing the same hat, I think.
Yeah, it's weird.
Yeah. I love him as a character, I must admit. I think he's a lovely guy. Yeah, I'm really drawn to him. I think he's wonderfully painted, if you know what I mean. A well-drawn character. I don't mean physically. I just mean as a man. Is a kind of man I'd love to spend time with.
Well, no one else seemed to really think so.
I
we're talking about the
know,
barber
I
scene,
know.
and finally they start actually engaging with him and being like, finally you want to talk about something that's not
Yes.
jazz music.
Yeah,
But it's only
not
doing
jazz
that because
music,
it's not
yeah.
actually him talking. So everyone's
Yeah.
sick of him until they actually have someone else in charge of his body. So,
True. Yeah. That's just how he struck me, anyway.
When we see Joe walk into this sort of mentor, because he's not supposed to be in the afterlife where he is, or the before life, I suppose, he gets sort of swept up as a mentor for souls that just can't, I don't know, they can't find their spark. And so we meet him in the assignment stage. We see one of the souls is soul number 108,200,000,000, sort of whatever. Which makes me wonder, soul number 22, she must be one of the oldest souls in the universe.
Yeah.
yeah.
That's
Yeah.
insane.
The 22nd person who should have ever been born. Yeah.
She's been stuck
'Cause-
there all that time.
'Cause I did a brief Google and it said,
Yeah.
they estimate there has been about 108 billion people ever. Yeah, so that kind of, wow. She's stubborn. We'll give her that.
But she relates some of the people that she's tried to be mentored by, doesn't she? And they're all fairly recent historic characters, I think. I can't remember the list of the names of the people she quotes from. But if she's that old, she could go back to Adam, couldn't she?
Yeah.
Yeah, I suppose, yeah.
I want to know what happened to the real Dr. Blorgenson or whatever it was. Obviously, Joe comes in and takes over someone's identity. I mean, where's the real Dr. Blorgenson? That's weird. He died, I guess. He got bug zapped by that afterlife bug zapper.
I really like the Terry and Jerry characters.
Oh yeah, you got Morris Moss, Richard Ayoade.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
He's very good at it.
That's right.
He's a lot of fun.
Yeah, I
On the
find
IT
him,
crowd,
I find them very funny, and just the art of them as well, very like abstract.
Yeah, they're 2D, aren't they?
Yeah, very creative.
Yeah.
They're basically just line characters.
Yeah.
I find
Beautifully
it-
drawn.
Yeah, I find it really, really
Yeah.
fun to look at. It's very nice.
Yeah. If you're going to draw a spiritual being, how do you go about doing that? I think they put a lot of thought into that, didn't they? Now, I think we're going to have to talk about this from a Christian perspective as well, I think, aren't we? One of the things that troubles me is how they've done that in a way that Jerry is like this. There's more than one Jerry's, and there's more than three Jerry's that we might identify as a triunal Godhead figure if it was written from a Christian faith perspective. Obviously, it isn't. So there's multiple. I think there might be 6 or 7 of them. I don't know. Is there?
I kind of just assumed that they were angel types. They're just doing the day-to-day running of the situation.
Did you?
Well, I don't know. I mean, obviously, it's not written from a Christian perspective, but I thought, as it goes, I wouldn't have called them God. I would have called them angels.
Well,
but
I thought they were the equivalents of our Godhead.
Really?
Father, Son,
Okay.
and Holy Spirit. Yeah, I thought they were, because they do make quite important decision at the very end, don't they? But we won't come on to that yet. And I just thought they were trying to veer away from upsetting any religion. Yeah, it's a conceit that kind of avoids too much controversy. But I imagine this film has probably upset Christians. I don't know if we're going to find ourselves upset by it by the end time we finish talking about it.
Yeah, I did do a brief Google as to whether there was a list of all the heresies in the movie Soul, but no one's created such a list, which is a bit sad.
Oh, really?
No, yeah, I might have to do it. I don't know.
Yeah.
I thought it'd just be fun, but no, apparently not.
I thought especially the evangelical wing of the Christian church would be all over this film, saying how upsetting it is.
Something I found quite upsetting was the fact that Joe, our main character, who's a teacher, seems to have the phone number of an ex-student of his.
But he's an adult.
You wouldn't get away with that these days.
He even says you don't have to call me Mr. Gardner, doesn't he, or something? Yeah. Can't you be friends with ex-pupils once they're adults?
Yeah.
You may have a point.
What did you think of the Hall of Anything, where Joe basically takes 22 to different ethereal places to get inspired, and it kind of just made me really sad because he takes her to his memories, as well.
Right.
A sort of a museum of his, and it's just him sitting on the sofa. I was like, oh boy. I was like,
Yeah.
Quite bleak.
I'm not looking forward to me dying, I'll tell you that much. It'd be just as bad, I'm saying.
You see your whole life flash before you. Is that it?
Just me watching different TV shows.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm sure your life's got more to it than that.
I'm sure in one of the scenes we see a kid, well, one of the souls, get inspired by the fact that he gets hit on the head with a football. That's so bizarre.
I can't remember.
Yeah.
So that's all,
I forgot that scene.
Yeah, he's there trying to figure out how to, I don't know, play the violin or something, and then he gets hit by a football. And he's like, oh, inspiration. Very, very weird place. But I enjoyed it. It was good.
Do you think in this early part of the film that we're perhaps talking about mostly, the fact that as he's ascending up the staircase to heaven, I don't know if heaven actually gets mentioned, does it? But anyway, the afterlife.
The great beyond.
The great beyond, that's it, yeah. Again, another conceit that helps the writers avoid controversy.
Yeah.
The only thing that surprised me a little bit was actually he taking it all very much in his stride. He's obviously doesn't want to carry on. He's running back down the staircase and trying to avoid going to the great beyond. But he was more concerned about his appointment to be with the band, his
temporal existence.
audition, or he's had his audition, hasn't he? And I don't know, he just seemed to be taking it all in his stride, all very, this is, wow, there's an afterlife, and this is it. You think he would be a bit more surprised or overwhelmed by all of that? He's just
focused on his gig, isn't he? Yeah.
There wasn't like any awe about it to him.
There is a bit of a fan theory that suggests that Joe was not, in fact, when you see him in the zone, that's a rare occasion, because the majority of the time he is, in fact, one of those gremlin creatures who's just living life as a zombie. Yeah. So when you really into something, you kind of enter this ethereal space, but it also kind of shares the same space as people who are just zoned out and drudged by life and stuff like
just
that.
Coasting.
Watching TV all day,
That's it,
Yeah, so there's a fan theory that suggests that he's most of the time just one of those. Sorry, that was relevant. I can't remember what you said that made me think of that.
Because it's after that scene where he sees his life, doesn't he use the words, "My life was meaningless"?
It wouldn't surprise me. Yes, that sounds right.
I'm sure that's one of the lines he said.
Which I think it shows how much he's wanted to have his big break, and he wanted to make a name for himself and be on a stage, and that's what he made his life to be, and that's all he hoped for. He didn't give any value to anything else, which is why obviously when he's not doing that and he's just teaching kids, he's missing all the value that he could have, or he does have, in that space. So being this very influential music teacher to the young girl who's really inspired by him, he completely misses it, and he oversees it because he's got his own aspirations that he's just fixed on a bit too much.
Yeah,
I think that's basically what the whole film's all about, is to not forget about the daily life and to take appreciation of just the day-to-day business, to not always just look ahead to something, but to enjoy the today as well.
Absolutely. Well, we see a montage near the end, don't we, where he does look back and see him sort of standing in the water at the seaside, and all sorts of other little bits of life that he appreciates. Actually, these were worthwhile things.
Yeah. And one of the Jerry's, Richard Ayoade's Jerry, at the end, kind of makes fun of the whole idea of the entire film, which is that a person has their spark, they have their purpose and their meaning of life. It's like he kind of scoffs it, like that's just ridiculous. That's not.
I've got the line. I've got the line. I wrote it down. Do you want me to say it?
Yeah. I would like that.
A spark isn't a soul's purpose. You mentors. So his role while he was in the afterlife was to be a mentor, wasn't it? Yeah. He says, "You mentors and your passions, your purposes, your meanings of life, so basic."
Yeah.
So it's like you get so hung up on that, But actually, it was one of their criteria to get people to go down into Earth in the first place. Well, they created those criteria, didn't they?
Well, I think,
and then he's scoffing it.
Well, I don't think he's scoffing at the idea of the spark. I think the spark is a ingredient that makes the person who the person is. It's not a purpose of your existence. It's not
No,
that.
exactly.
Yeah.
I think that's the point
Who
he's
you
making.
are, not what you need to do.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah. In fact, it says it right there in that quote I just said, doesn't it? A spark isn't a soul's purpose. Sorry. Yeah.
Yeah. So,
which for us, really, it should be said to be the same, shouldn't it? Really,
interesting.
you're more than just what you do or even what excites you. Shouldn't it be? Each one of us have more than just one thing that we should be living for.
Yeah, I think you should be able to see, from a Christian standpoint, be able to see the value that you have in Christ Jesus, rather than having your value all about your purpose, what you're doing, and if you're achieving what you believe your purpose is to achieve.
Yeah.
If that's what we're saying, I wouldn't write off the idea of a purpose altogether, though. I'd just say it's not the be all and end all, maybe.
Yes.
Because I think God does give us a purpose, a reason to do the things we're doing and such. There are things for us to be about, as it were, but maybe that's not the be all and end all. Yeah.
No, it's very good points.
Yeah.
So halfway through the film, they end up going to Earth and not seeing around. After all the ethereal afterlife business, they fall into. So 22 ends up in Joe's body, and Joe ends up in the cat, and then we see a brief shot of the cat's soul going into the big bug zapper.
Yeah.
It's very sad.
Yeah. So
But the cat comes back later in the film, doesn't it? Yeah.
Well, I don't know.
So the Jerrys must have had to have given the cat soul another chance as well. And come back.
I reckon it's just a new soul. They just replaced it. Yeah.
But it goes running to its previous owner.
Yeah, but they get the previous brain from the body.
Yeah.
So they have all the memories.
Not the soul.
Which is why 22 has the memories from Joe.
Yeah.
Oh, there we go. Yeah, it's all coming together now.
Yeah, well, it makes sense then, yeah.
I really enjoyed when Joe, as the cat, gets a bit mad for whatever reason. He says, "I'm going to scratch up this sofa." And says, "Wait a minute, that's my sofa."
Yeah, that's right. There was some really good funny lines in it, I think. Yeah,
well, for me, I think that was the only funny bit.
Oh right,
really?
I really, I really enjoyed that bit.
Yeah.
To be honest, all the Earth stuff running around, all the hijinks, I just found it a bit off-putting, a bit too long, too, I don't know, dry.
Yeah, it was a little bit stretched out, especially when Joe is just kind of always pulling 22 to go to the same thing and to do what he needs to do. And
you got to get dressed.
You get the point. You kind of understand what the movie is trying to tell you already, but it kind of goes on for a bit.
You've mentioned one member of the cast, but there's a couple of others I'd like to give reference to. Jamie Foxx, I think, does a good job of playing Joe.
Yeah.
And also Graham Norton is in it as well, isn't he?
Yeah, he's a sign spinner.
Yeah. The character's name is Moonwind. He's the one who's on the street corner, seemingly permanently in that zone that you were referencing earlier. I'm just wondering who else might have been in it that we know. No, they're the main characters. Tina Fey, she plays the character of 22, but I'm trying to think what else she's been in. I've heard her name, but I don't know what she's known for. But she's pretty good. There was one moving scene that I might reference before we talk about some of the negatives. The shot when 22 finally does agree to go to Earth, having already been there once, but come back and then decides I'm going to go. I think Joe helps in that, doesn't he? Because he gives her the spark, he says, "I'll come with you," and she says, "You can't. You know you can't." But he says, "I'll come as far as I can."
Yeah. And
I thought it was a really nice scene when they jump over the edge and floating down or flying down to Earth. And the little conversation they have. It's not a long scene, but they're holding hands, and then they just let go, and she floats off on her own. I thought it was beautifully shot, and a really nice way for that to happen.
Yeah. There's quite a few, I don't know, strong moments, which I kind of appreciated, but yeah.
I really like the one when 22 is a lost soul, and Joe has got broken inside of the lost soul area. And you can see all of her past mentors saying all these really negative things about her, how she's never going to get a spark and she's hopeless and all this kind of thing. And then you see Joe as well as the biggest one being really discouraging and demeaning, using all the things that he said throughout the film, and Joe gets to look at himself saying these things to 22, as he's been so caught up in his own mission, his own purpose.
Yes, yeah.
That's powerful. Yeah,
I really like that scene.
Yeah, I wasn't so struck by those scenes in that with the galleon ship where Graham Norton's character is in charge, and I find those a little bit less intriguing to me. But anyway, and that brings us on to some of the more scarier scenes. What's your thoughts on that?
Can I assume then from that you've never done anything so hard that you've entered another plane of reality? Is that what I'm getting from this?
My life doesn't consist of those moments very much. Sometimes, no. I'm trying to think of something. No, I don't think I can. My role in life doesn't include those kind of creative, lost in the whirl of whatever. Yeah,
I feel like I go in the zone sometimes at work. With some of the things I'm actually quite passionate about. Like today, I was working out a new code for a problem I've been trying to solve for about a month now, and time just disappears, and it's just me with the computer just staring at these lines of code, just trying to work it out, and just time just flies by.
It's a bit like
I love it.
Looking at the Matrix, looking at those letters coming down the screen, and you just see things that nobody else can see.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
I got a bit carried away and into some kind of zone today when I was doing my job at church, and it's half-term week this week, so that gives listeners an idea of how long it takes us to record and then publish these podcasts. But one of my Monday jobs is to stack the chairs in the main worship hall from Sunday, because we don't need them anymore because we use the space for some other things during the week. But of course it's half-term week, so I didn't need to stack the chairs, did I? But it wasn't until I got halfway through stacking the chairs that I realised I shouldn't have done that. So I had to put them all back again because I was in the Monday zone and my brain wasn't thinking very clearly. Yeah. Anyway, that's the closest I get to being in that zone. Totally irrelevant. Anyway, okay.
You were moving on to some darker tones, right?
Yeah, the scary stuff. There's a couple of scenes that I thought, actually, I don't know if I'd want young children to see this. I know it's aimed at probably an all age. What certificate is it? Do you know what? On IMDb, I can't see anything about it. Oh, it's PG. Yeah, okay. Oh, interestingly, it gets 8 out of 10, so it's quite a good score on IMDb. There was just some bits, I'm trying to recall them now, that I know from our grandchildren's perspective, who's now 4. I think he might be a bit too young still for it. But, Devon, you said that your little girl was quite comfortable with it.
Yeah.
Did anything in it frighten her?
Well, she knew that the lost souls were monsters, and she said, "Oh, it's scary," But she wasn't like upset or anything. She's like, "Oh, scary monster."
No.
But yeah, she really enjoyed the cat and the music, I suppose. So
every parent knows what their child's thresholds are, don't they? But I just know from watching other films with other grandchildren that I don't think some of our other grandchildren will cope very well with some of that. Yeah. But anyway, yeah.
For a film ostensibly about music, I found the score rather lacking.
Yeah, good point. There was no standouts, was there?
No, I couldn't pick out any of the songs that were in it. And obviously it's jazz. There's a lot of jazz stuff.
Yeah.
But I don't know, bit of a shame they didn't have any actual musical numbers.
But jazz is meant to be free-flowing and kind of, what's the word for it? You don't... Jazz musicians just play, don't they? They don't follow written music.
Wow.
Do they?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, if you watch Whiplash...
And they're jamming like we see... Yeah. But when we see them jamming in the scene where Joe does get his dream come true, it's just completely... Yeah,
he's just playing in the right key kind of thing.
Yeah.
In the zone.
For the darker tones, I'm a bit more concerned personally with the messaging. I actually disagree with the messaging. And obviously it has...
Do you?
The world that they create, obviously, I think is not good for people. In the sense that it sort of puts emphasis on the wrong things, in my opinion.
Okay.
Yeah, I probably should have written out what I thought, but... what? I think it is good to strive after some grand things. I feel like it dumbed down those things a bit too hard for my liking. Obviously, the whole afterlife nonsense was a bit too generic and twee for my liking as well, but still. It's just this kind of
Yeah.
just this kind of idea that it's a sort to think that there is a purpose to life is toxic. Basically, that's kind of the message I got from it. And yeah, I wholeheartedly disagree.
No, I can understand that view. Yeah. I think maybe, as I've said before on other times when we've discussed whether it be music or film or any other, I kind of look at these things from a Christian perspective because it's who I know we all are. But I am troubled by some of the elements of this, the lost souls and also just what criteria it is to get into heaven or do you know what I mean? I mean, hell gets one reference, but it's quite subtle when he uses the phrase HE double hockey stick. Do you remember that?
Yeah.
And that these little baby souls start calling out hell, 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 which I suppose.
But there's no mention of there actually being a hell or heaven. It's really left open to interpretation what the great beyond was. And it seemed to me that everyone was going to the same place. So it was very, as Ford said, very generic and a lot of questions that need answering to kind of interpret what the film is actually saying the afterlife is, I suppose.
Yeah.
But I think it purposely does that to avoid any kind of avoid any confrontation.
Yeah. Which for a Pixar movie, I think it's a lot to expect them to do anything else.
Yes.
This is material fodder for the mass audience, isn't it?
Yeah.
They're not making a Christian film. So to put Christian standards on it is a lot to ask. But my worry about it is that what influences from this go into the real world younger generation thinking, oh, this is what the afterlife is like. And they know that the afterlife isn't the same as what it's in the Soul film, but it gives undertone messages, doesn't it?
Yeah, I think it's the idea that in life you just got to enjoy your experiences, and then you'll get bug zapped at the end, and that's that. I think that's a universalist kind of very temporal way of looking at things, and it's I mean, obviously we're not going to agree with any of what they're talking about, but
no,
it's good stuff.
But where do you draw the line between just coasting through life and doing what you want and being too hyper focused on a certain goal that you miss the day-to-day joys?
Well, I think as Christians, we're called to focus on the little things as our purpose. So I think those two neatly intersect.
But the little things, like in the film, was 22 found a seed that fell from the tree, or like helicopter seeds. Like it's not our purpose as Christian to enjoy that as a purpose.
No, I think there are certain pleasures that are fine to enjoy just for enjoying its sake. I don't think everything is all about the purpose, which is what you referred to a bit earlier.
The big mission.
Yeah.
There's definitely balance in that, I think, isn't there?
Yeah, I kind of agree with
Are we feeling
points, to be honest.
That's nice.
Yeah.
And watching it was kind of a bit felt quite wishy-washy.
Yes.
Like, do I want my daughter to grow up thinking that just walking down the street, grabbing a piece of pizza, and that's living day to day without a care in the world? So do I really want her to think like that? So it is trying to find that balance, and the film seems to idealize being short-sighted with your life.
Yeah, maybe that's what I'm trying to say.
I think I have a similar feeling about this as I do about the whole, as it's this time of year, the subject of Halloween, which is very much out there and being promoted, and the dangers that I feel as a Christian that there are in Halloween. It's like this dumbing down, of a very important subject. And the whole subject that Halloween comes from is the negative spiritual forces, evil and the devil. But that's become sanitized and made into something that's now fun. And so, in a way, this film is the opposite of that. It's dealing with a very important spiritual subject in a dumbed down way. Do you see what I mean?
Yeah.
And I worry that when you sanitize, the importance of these subjects are lost to a younger generation. And so you set yourself up with teenagers who have grown up with an idea of something that isn't based on reality, that we believe the reality of spirit. This is our subject, this is for Christians. This is if you're an atheist, you can ignore everything we're saying because obviously you'll take this as a piece of entertainment. But as Christians, it's an important part of who we are. So Does that make any sense?
I think for those people who think we're taking this too seriously, all entertainment is trying to push a message. Well, all good entertainment, shall we say?
Yeah.
And everything is trying to dumb down a complex issue and ingrain it in your mind. And yeah, I think that's why we're taking this seriously. I think.
And I don't know if I finished my point, but the point was going to be that when a child grows up with a different interpretation of something that's quite important, and that interpretation is based on material like this, or on the opposite scale, based on material like the whole Halloween imagery and celebration of that, then I think it can have real world effects that will actually prevent them from viewing what Christianity has to say they'll come at that subject when they come to a point in their life when they want to evaluate whether they believe in God or not. With all this going on in their heads from years gone by, I don't know if you come to a clear conclusion. I don't know if I've worded that very well, but that's my concern.
The amount that this film just kind of brushes off the idea of the afterlife and just kind of focuses on this nice little fluffy area that you go to once you die. And they kind of touch on it like, oh yeah, here's Great Beyond, big scary music, whatever. But then it's quickly packed away again, and you just focus on this nice lush area with just happiness and kids learning and all this.
Seems like a beautiful place, doesn't it?
Yeah, exactly. It's very brushed and sort of thing, kind of just passed off as something that's not actually quite serious.
So I don't know whether to commend Pixar for trying to approach a subject that is really difficult subject to go with, or whether to be upset about it because it's actually nothing like the real afterlife. And I know listeners might be going, there is no such thing as the afterlife. But how can you state it so factually? But that's for those of us with a spiritual belief, and let's face it, there might not just be Christians who could take this in a negative way, but there are other faiths as well will probably disagree with this interpretation of what happens after we die.
Yeah.
So then,
I think that's probably all I can say about it. Yeah.
How many exercised cats out of 10 do you give it?
Exercised.
That's a good one. I like that for because there's that TV show, isn't there?
Is it?
Yeah. 8 out of 10 cats.
Out of 10,
yeah,
TV
show called
Cats. I give it 8 out of 10 cats. Yeah.
Would you? 8? Wow.
8 out of 10 cats. Yeah.
That's
I don't
too
know
much.
how to judge these things.
You think it's too
Something
much?
else that we reviewed. I was in this dilemma. I had to judge it either as a Christian or as a piece of entertainment. And,
Oh dear.
That's a difficult balance. 8's high, I think.
Yeah.
For me, well, that's what IMDb says. It's 8 out of 10.
Yeah.
But
I just try and think of all of the other modern Disney Pixar films that have come out in the last few films, and I think just the general quality and creativeness, and it's just very unique, unlike all the other regurgitated trash that comes out for kids' films these days. So I actually quite appreciate it.
I think it has neat ideas, and it tries to convey some really interesting points about how we live our lives, obsess over things while missing out on the little important things. But I must say, I don't like this film. I don't know if it's too much explaining or too much farcical goofing around trying to get to jazz concerts, or I don't know. Is it just not very fun? It doesn't feel particularly fun to me. I know the director of this is the same director who did Inside Out, which also dealt with very deep and intelligent, but also blended it with compelling and fun. Yeah, I think Inside Out was much better at this kind of film. So I'm thinking about 6.
That's still quite good for saying you don't like it.
Yeah, I feel like 5, maybe 5. Okay, I'm going 5.
Oh, I'll just
like you. Yeah, you did. But like I say, it's got some great ideas, quite unique ideas. I don't know any other film like this, And there is some funny. Well, there's a funny song. It is quite creative. It's creative, like you said.
Yeah, what they've done is done very, very well, and I appreciated that, and I got a lot of enjoyment from watching it. I have to switch off my critical Christian brain
Mm-hmm.
to do that though. So I'm going to go. I'm not splitting the difference. I'll go. I was thinking around the 7 mark, so I'll stick to that.
Yeah.
I'm going to go 7.
Yeah,
So
that's fair enough.
that's fair enough.
It's not often that I rate something the highest. I feel like
No.
Mm.
Do you think that might be because you've got a young child who you sat and watched it with?
Maybe. Yeah, maybe. I think there are a lot of good lessons to be learned in it, but there's also a lot of bad lessons.
Yeah.
So you really got to pick and choose. But
did she seem as though she was enjoying it?
yes.
She enjoyed the cat.
Yeah, she enjoyed the cat and the music. Yeah, and
Good.
there's a lot of running around, and kind of falling over.
Yeah.
It's quite fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he's a funny looking bloke, isn't he?
Yeah, especially when he's being controlled by someone who's never been on Earth before in a human body.
Yeah.
He's kind of just, he's a bit lanky and he's kind of just falling over himself. So
Yeah.
it's kind of comedic in that sense, I suppose.
I can see how a younger viewer would enjoy all that. Yeah.
I have a question, right? So we know that some of the souls, the baby souls, they don't necessarily get their spark very quickly. Some of them really stick on it, right? So we know that the supply doesn't necessarily meet demand for souls. So does that mean there are soulless babies on Earth?
Oh dear.
I think there are soulless babies.
There was
But
a
isn't
scene
there
where
only
they
one
were.
who doesn't get that spark?
Oh no, because that seminar starts with I don't know, like hundreds of baby souls rushing in, and there's a load of mentors in the.
Or maybe a soul isn't delegated to
Amphitheatre.
their body until the soul's ready.
Right, but the fact that there is a choke point in the manufacturing process, it means there must be a supply demand problem.
I don't know. I mean,
Unless they have a
there's
surplus.
an accountant. Yeah. There's an accountant, isn't there, who we hadn't mentioned, who's an interesting
Terry.
character.
Mm.
Yeah, that's right, not Jerry, Terry. And he's absolutely fixated on making sure the numbers all add up. So
Yeah. Oh, I did enjoy that last
he
scene.
notices.
Where they kind of just move the dial back again to try and
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
long story short, Joe is able to go back to Earth, and in order to make it all work with the accountant guy, Terry,
Terry.
Terry.
Terry,
The Jerrys just distract him real quick, and then flick the bean counter and say, "Oh, nothing, no worries."
Yeah.
Sorry, there are two scenes that I liked in this film.
Yeah. I liked him when he started doing the counting in the filing cabinets. There's this vast area of filing cabinets. And he's flicking through them. Yeah. Anyway,
the whole first
I
one
think
is
we've
just
done
AA to AA, and he's going through all the names.
Yeah.
like millions of these cabinets.
Oh, dear. He was dedicated to his work.
Yeah.
Do you think we've done enough on this?
I think we have. Yeah. That's
Yeah.
quite good.
Thank you, guys.
Yeah.
It was a worthwhile talk, I think.
Yeah, well done.
Yeah.
I think it is.
I know other people will disagree with some of my hang-ups on it, but that's where we all bring ourselves to these things, don't we?
Yeah, I think you can easily take it not as serious, like Ford said.
Yeah.
You can easily just brush it off as just a kids' film.
Yeah.
But there's I think intentionally quite some deep moments and deep concepts in it as well. So yeah, it's been
Do you think-
interesting to talk about.
Do you think non-Christian parents of non-Christian children would have any issues with this film?
I doubt it.
I
I
don't
think
think
they
so.
would be happy with the message it portrays, about this soul purpose and spark, and and what happens after you die. I mean, it's going to probably open up conversations for parents to have with children about death and things. That's why I think it's very brave of Pixar to go in this whole anywhere near this.
Mm.
I mean,
Yeah.
we've been, I don't know how you guys feel about this, but we've been quite honest with, I think it's mostly me, been quite honest with our daughter about the concept of death. So
Yeah.
she pulled a worm's head off
Oh, boy.
a few months ago. And we explained that, yes, that worm's not moving anymore because he died. You hurt him so much that he died. So you're
Yikes.
trying to get her to understand the concept of death.
You killed him.
Yeah, but now she kind of conflates it with being asleep, so it's a little bit confusing. But
Yeah.
but I think as well as
Yeah.
again maybe a bit controversial, but as Christians, death isn't something that we should probably be afraid of.
Fear? No.
It's something that
Yeah.
you should understand and
Look forward to.
well,
in a good way, not in a rush to get their way, but yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's a step. It's not eternal death. That's the point.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I saw this. It was a meme. Basically, it was a photo of a sign that a farmer had clearly put up, and it said, "Praying is the best way to meet Jesus. Trespassing is the fastest."
Very good.
Yeah, that's funny.
Yeah, it's good.
That was another film that I've watched recently. I think I mentioned it the other day on our last episode. Is The Creator, about AI, artificial intelligence. And did we have that conversation yet? I don't know. If I didn't, we might come to it next time.
Okay.
And there's a small child is in that, who's a robot child. I'm just summarising it very briefly, quickly. And she sees one of her other AI beings get destroyed, and I think it upsets. I'm trying to remember now. It upsets her, and the main character, human character, says, "Not dead, just off." Because the robot was switched off. You see, not dead, just off. And then she later in the film, when one of his mates gets killed, she said, "Just off."
Yeah.
Anyway, but that, you see, is similar to this. It's about the nature of existence, and do AI characters have a soul? It was a great film. I enjoyed it. Watched it twice now. Worth a watch. So it does connect to this film in some ways.
Yeah.
Let's set your next assignment and say goodbye.
Paps, do you want to introduce what is up next time? Because I believe it's your segment next time, isn't it?
I think so. Next time, if I can.
Give a bit of a teaser.
A teaser, yeah. Okay. Next time, I will be introducing our main topic of conversation, which will be in episode 76. It kind of connects with what I've just been saying. I want to talk about human biotech enhancements.
Oh.
And I won't say any more about it than that, I think, at this stage. So I think it does say it all in the title. Human biotech enhancements.
We're all going to be cyborgs, are we?
Okay.
Like Cyberpunk.
Oh, you never know. Or are we already on the way? Yeah. So let's hope we can have some interesting thoughts on that before we come around the microphone.
Yeah.
Okay.
Excellent. Thank you very much, everyone, for contributing and for listening. If I can just remind all our listeners, we have the next We Review episode? It's music.
Oh, yeah, which will be episode 77.
Yes. So
yeah.
Please, can you go into the description, and there's a link to vote on which album of music we want to review next time.
Okay.
We've got a few in there that I think are very good.
Do you want to highlight them now? Mention them now?
So we've got Let's Dance by David Bowie. We've got Robot Rock by Joy Electric. I wonder who suggested that. We've got Campfire by Rent Collective. I wonder who suggested that.
Nice.
Yeah.
So whatever you want us to review, go and vote for it in the description below. There's a little link down there. Also, if you have any thoughts or suggestions for us or criticism, we always want to hear it. You can find us on most major platforms, including obviously YouTube as well. You just leave a comment in the comment box, or tweet us at Theory of Anything, TING, or X us. Give me an X. X me on X.
Dear.
Or you can
please.
Or you can email, which is probably preferable. theoryofanything@hotmail.com. Yeah.
Nice.
Apart from that,
Marvelous.
there's not much else to say.
No, thank you very much, Devon.
Yeah.
Thank you all for sticking with us. I hope you enjoyed it.
Shall I say it?
Yeah, go on.
Okay.
You can do it.
That's it. See you in a bit.